They'd be disappointed if it was perfect.
Okay. It now says we're live. It's got like an 8-second delay on it.
Oh, okay.
So we are live. Hi, Lumineers. Hi, everybody out there. Welcome to Animals and Light. This is our 3rd episode. And when I say ours, I mean I'm here today with Brian Mercer. Let's see if I... So today we're going to invite Maitland in. I'm not going to be trans-channeling today, but we are going to be asking Maitland your questions that we have about our animals and the afterlife, contracts that we have with our animals, and kind of the purpose of the animals and their contributions to what we do on Earth as a whole. So Maitland is a 9-year-old spirit guide of mine that I've been working with since I remember when I was 18. I think I started working with her when I was 20 or 21. She's a delight and she's full of information. So I'm going to be the go-to person in translating, and Brian is going to ask the questions and manage the thread. And Luminaires, we're going to ask that you do put your fingers to the keyboard. Who's that?
They said there's no sound now.
No, there has to be sound.
Okay.
How is that for? Is there sound? That makes no sense.
Yes. They can hear you. They can hear. Okay, so we're good.
It's going to be a little confusing. But Brian is going to be looking at the questions, and we do want to make you aware that the questions move quick. He's going to be looking at Facebook today, but we are also live today on YouTube and over at Learn It Live, where all of our videos are posted, as well as on our website, which is animalsandthelight.com, and you can head over there and read all the wonderful blogs that Brian has put together. Great articles, by the way, I love them, and also all the videos, so you can rewatch them as well. We do have people writing that they cannot hear. All of a sudden the sound was there, and now the sound is not there. Though we have not done anything on our side to compromise sound, so I don't know how to troubleshoot this one.
Right.
So please, Sheila, Maria, Thor, can you hear mine? Can you hear me speaking? You only hear Brian's voice through Jamie's screen, I think. Well, we have Brian plugged directly into our Sling Studio, which is doing all of our broadcasting. So it's taking video and sound directly from the computer. It's wired, not wireless today. And now you're saying it's back.
You can hear me? Can you hear me now?
Do you think that...
We'll nail this down. Only else down. So.
So, just to clarify, you're asking Maitland what it's like from the animal's perspective when you're going to assist them or help them cross over.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Because I was also watching the thread, making sure everybody could hear. We can only hear Brian when Jamie's screen is on. What?
So just.
That is crazy. Okay, well.
Well, that's lovely.
Okay,
All right,
so here's what we're going to do.
Can you split the picture?
Yeah.
Will that work?
Let's do this. Oh no, maybe that's not going to work. Did you see me just lower my chair? Because I want to do this. Let me know, Lumineers, if you...
You and I'll be the radio host.
This is crazy, y'all. Brian says that we're going to try it this way for a little bit because Maitland's going to do a lot of talking, but please know that Brian Mercer is here on the other end. You guys are so much fun hanging in there as we do this.
Yes, thank you.
I think if I buy just one more cable, like I have so many cables now, Brian, it's ridiculous. You should see the setup. It's supposed to be all wireless. I have like 18 wires now. Everything is hooked. So, yay! Okay, we're back and running.
All right, let's do this.
Yes.
All right, so Maitland, can you tell us what it's like for an animal
Yes,
when they cross?
to receive help from someone as they're crossing over. Maitland's saying hi to everybody. She's saying hi to Brian, and she's swearing that she didn't touch anything. So that this instance is not her fault. Though I will tell you, we started late because all of a sudden my camera started acting up and putting all this things on the screen. It was really crazy. As you can tell, it's not really even focused because I can't, because it keeps messing up. Anyways, Maitland says stay focused. That's big if she's telling us to do that. She said from the animal's viewpoint, if somebody is assisting them, let's say as a human to your animal companion, she says in general, she's speaking in general, that most of the help received is welcomed. They're asking for it. On many occasions, more than not, she said that the animal has been asking for assistance, but the animal parent doesn't want to help because they don't know if it's the right time, or they'll feel bad, or they don't want it on their conscience. But from their viewpoint, they have a very clear language and very clear signs of when they're leaving their life, and that if assistance could be provided, they like it. Maitland says a lot of the animals don't know why humans don't do that with other humans. There are very few occasions where the animal does not want the assistance and wants to pass over on their own, but wants their human parent to be with them. And in that case, most of the time, they'll always act great until it's time for them to go. So that doesn't mean that you weren't smart enough to see the signs, Maitland says. It's just that the animal wanted to do it naturally and not need the chemical assistance, if that makes sense.
So, I'm not getting much. So, feel free to post your questions on Facebook if you want to ask Maitland something about animals. So I'll fill in here. So, it sounds like animals know when they're going to die. Is that correct?
Ooh, that was a good question. Maitland said absolutely. They know when they're crossing over. More so than what a human would know. She thinks that humans are more trained to be very present to other people, whereas animals are trained to be very present with themselves. She thinks that's why people are taking to yoga and meditation and mindfulness so they can be more instinctual like animals are.
And then how much control over the process do animals have? It seems like sometimes they do have control, sometimes they do need help. So is it just variable by animal or by circumstance? Because we've heard stories, I've heard stories where like someone goes into their grandfather who's dying and has been in bed for a long time, and they say, "No, Grandpa, it's okay, you can go," and then within minutes they are gone. And I've heard that story again and again. Is that something that happens, for animals too?
Maitland said that animals would love that greatly if you would talk to them about what you see and what you observe, especially if you think that they're having a hard time, and giving them permission to let go even of the contract of why they're with you or why they're in the household. Maybe it's with the kids, or maybe your animal is very attached to another animal that's in the house. And often, just like people, she says, that they will refuse to cross over because they don't feel like they've done all the business that they need to be doing. So you can give them a verbal cue stating that when you're ready to go, please let go. Everything's going to be fine here. We've got it.
So we're getting questions, but they're all very specific to specific pets. Do we want to take those? Or can we get broader questions about animals in general? Any questions about what the afterlife looks like? Here we go. This is from Susie, and she asks, will animals greet us on the other side when we arrive?
Hi, Susie. Maitland says she really enjoys being at your house with all your babies. Yes, they will greet you when you come home to the other side. But Maitland says there's all kinds of caveats. That's a really good word for her. There's all kinds of caveats. Let's say that if you crossed over tragically and you needed a moment to heal, she goes, most likely nobody's going to be greeting you. You're going to need a moment of rest and peace and rejuvenation and healing, and then when that's over, then you'll be reunited. But she says, animals, people, trees, like her hands are up in the air. They're little and they're cute. Animals, people, trees. She goes, all of them that have life energy are going to be there to be able to greet you if you played a part or had a significant role, or even a moment that was very meaningful. You're going to reconnect with them on the other side.
Oh, I've got some great questions here. I've got one from Shelley, and she asks, what signs can an animal parent look for when an animal needs help? My cat's starting to throw up. Right now, when a cat's looking to cross over, are there any signs that the animal parents can look for that might give us a clue that that's happening?
So when your baby is looking to cross over, Maitland said whether it's an iguana or a bird or hamsters, fish, she's going all out. The first sign is self-nourishment. They'll deny themselves their food and water. That's very, very common. And she says you take notice of it. Also, they'll start to withdraw from social settings, and they'll want to go somewhere private, somewhere where there's not a lot of loud sounds engaging, people to bring them back to life. They'll want to hunker down, and they'll also want to stay warm because their body temperatures will drop. And so they're looking to create their own heat. So those are some signs off the top. But she says if we're really specifically talking about dogs or cats, she says you want to look at, did they stop playing? Did they stop enjoying or having a good quality of life? Because then that shows signs that not only do they have not enough energy to engage with food, which could be an upset stomach for like a day or two, but if it's going on the third day with food, that's a big sign that you need to be paying attention to. But if they stop playing and they don't like their toys anymore and they're antisocial, that's when you need to be cluing in. I asked, what about like if they lay down and they're not getting up? I mean, haven't you had that? I've had that where my animal just curls up and doesn't get up.
Oh yeah. That's a good sign. What does she say?
She says that's not always a sign. It could be a sign of an injured paw, leg, or hip hurting. Not necessarily a sign that I need to get out of my body. But she says most of the time animals want to please. They're very emotional. They want to serve. That they'll continue to get up even when they don't feel good to attend to you or to follow you or to be with you. So if you know that they're at the end of their days because of they've been diagnosed by an illness or a disease or they're old in age and they show those signs, then pay attention to it. But if they're healthy and they're not getting up, you need to look for injuries instead, she said.
Great, fantastic. Got a couple Amy questions. I'm going to get to both of them. The first one is, where is it? Oh, so she's saying that she had a cat named Lily who crossed over, and then shortly after that, it seems like there are times when Willie acts like her cat Lily, and she's wondering if can animals jump into another soul, like an animal soul jump into another body? Could Willie have pulled out and let Lily come back?
Maitland. She likes this. There's a few different ways that she's going to approach it, okay? Most likely, she says, it's when two animals have been together, whether we're looking at chimpanzees, whether we're looking at, deer, elk, birds, things, if they've been paired, whether brother or sister, or companionship, or in a relationship, that when one dies, it's often that the other one will take on the characteristics. It's like they carry forward what they learned. You can call that a part of an evolutionary growth. You can call that, I love them so much, now I'm going to mimic them because I remember them doing this. So it's a way of them to express a connection and remember, recall, connect to them. So there's that piece. There is also another piece where, just like with people, she says, but we're gonna only talk about animals, Maitland. So again, if you're watching, we are listening to Maitland trans channel off camera, and Maitland's just channeling off camera, and I'm going to repeat what it is. I'm not going to trans channel today. There's too many technical difficulties, as you've witnessed, because I am here today with Brian Mercer, but whenever I turn on his camera, his sound goes away. Joy of joys. So it does happen with people, she says, where when one passes away, and if the other one is so connected to them that they can merge. You can kind of think of it, she's got these air quotes, you think of it like an attached spirit. And she goes, a lot of you think that having an attached spirit is very, very, very bad. And she says it's not always very, very, very bad. They can be in our energy to help support, bring us to life, to really help us move forward. Animals can do the same thing. I never slowed down to think about that animals can have attached spirits. Have you ever thought about that, Brian?
No, that's fascinating.
That is super fascinating. That makes me wonder.
Especially it being in a good way.
Right, especially being in a good way. But it also makes me wonder, like sometimes when our animals have these illnesses or injuries, what if it's something else that's attached to them that's making that, more apparent? That just gets my wheels going.
We have some great questions coming in.
Oh, good.
So we have a lot. We have Steph, Amy, and Katie all have kind of similar questions about animals coming back and reincarnating. So the first question would be from them would be, can they come back to us? And if they do, how can we know it's the same animal? Before you answer, Maitland, I'm sorry. If you go to animalsinthelight.com, I have several articles about my own cat who's reincarnated, and it lists a bunch of examples of how I could tell it was the same cat.
Did it do it again where he phased out on sound? He's talking about going over to animalsinthelight.com and looking at the videos, the blogs, and the articles that he's writing. So Brian
They're on reincarnation, and so I'm writing about my own experience. The same cat, and I'm also writing about what it's like to live with a reincarnated animal, and talking about the process if you want to encourage it, how you can do that. If you want to encourage your animal spirit to come back in a new body, what that would be like.
So Maitland wanted to jump back and finish one more sentence about if you're partnered together, so it can be like an attached spirit, or it can actually be where they merge. And it's kind of like a trance channeling. It's not a switching of souls or bodies. It's not a body snatching, which she says is not a thing. So let's go ahead and put that to rest. So yes, your animal can show behaviors, characteristics of the other one that was there. Most likely they're doing it because they missed them and that's what they've learned from them, and it's a way to grieve or connect to them. On more rarer situations, it'll be that they have merged so much energetically that they are sharing that kind of experience, or they're attached to them. This one, Maitland says about incarnation, how do you encourage your animal? She loves this. Animals incarnate as well as people incarnate. Not to make time sound linear, but she goes again and again and again and again and again. Most of the time, your animal that's with you is with you because of some kind of agreement. And if they feel like they didn't complete the agreement, then they're going to want to come back to you afterwards. The way to identify that it is them when they've incarnated and you're out looking for a new family member, cat, belly, pig, great, that was really nice and random, that you first want to look at their eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul. She goes, that doesn't lie. That's been around for centuries. You can tell if it's somebody that you already know just by looking at them in the eyes. Then she says, look at how they approach and how they touch you. A lot of times when you see them for the first time, even when they're itty bitty kittens or little like floppy puppies, they're doing their best to get to you. They're like, oh my God, it's you. And they're like trying to clamor to you, and then they have to touch you and they don't really want to leave you. And even if they're older, let's say if you find them at 6 months or at 2 years, and your pet has been gone that amount of time as well, because we're going to pretend time is linear, that they'll show the same habits. But the last identifying thing is the way they look at you, the way their eyes look. And she says if you want to call them forward back into their lives, the best way to manifest this kind of energy is if you write it down. You can keep a journal on it. Hold it into your thoughts before you go to bed at night. That's the easiest way. She says that time before you fall asleep is a great manifesting, like 15 minutes. So you think about the pet that you once had that transitioned. You think about the ways that you want them back into your life and why. You think about their name, and you think about the space that you're allowing for them to come back into your life. That would be the easiest. And then, lo and behold, you'll start to see these opportunities show up. Like, oh, you need to go to this person's house. Or a random person calls you and says, we just found a cat in our front yard. I thought you might want to see it. And you go to look at it and you're just like, what? That's, Mimi or whoever it was from before. It's very strange being on camera alone, guys. I really missed Brian not being on here.
All right, so so many great questions. Here's one. How can we help the pets that are left behind? How can we help them grieve from the pet that was just lost? Because we can all see that when they're looking for the other animal, or they're moping. Something's right. It's heartbreaking.
Isn't it heartbreaking? Especially like my cat Aloha, after Bunny passed away, howled at night from like 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. And then like my kids were talking to me in the morning. My daughter was like, I woke up last night to Aloha howling. She's a kitty cat. And she was like, it sounded so sad, I started crying. And you're like, oh my God, when it's affecting the kids too, like, So that's when we broke down and decided that we needed another soul in our household to anchor us. That's when Umi appeared. He was supposed to be here today, but I'm kind of happy he's not because there's too much difficulty going on with all the tech. So, how to help him grieve. Scent is number one, Maitland says. And Maitland's saying hi to everybody. Hi, Lumineer. She's got her hands up like this. I love you so much. And she said, this book is going to be the best. She says, there's nothing out there like it. She goes, we're going to write it very detailed. Oh, Brian, get ready for this. We. Did you hear the we in that? She goes, we're going to write it very detailed so that everybody understands that animal souls and spirit is just like people's soul and spirits. And she goes, and I really want people to understand that the wildlife, the animals that aren't domesticated, are just as valuable and important in contributing to our experience on Earth. She goes, okay, back to grieving. Smell. She said, pull out your, if you have an animal that's passing away, put them on a certain towel or put them on a certain blanket. Or if they have a little bed that they're in, keep the cover to the bed. And she goes, and what you want to do is you can take the cover or the blanket or the towel that your animal used to lay on and make sure it's something that you can cut up, portion off, and put some of it in a Ziploc so that it will hold the dander smell, it will hold the pheromones of that animal in the container, in the bag. And then every now and then you pull out a piece and you put it out. You don't want to put it on top of the other bed where the other animal is. You want to put it next to it, or maybe even near the food where there was a joint reunion, they would eat together. If they did sleep together, you could put it next to the bed. But scent is everything. But you're going to find a moment where they go to the smell and they don't even stop. They just walk right past it, Maitland says. And when they start doing that, you recognize they don't need that anymore, so you can take it away. Right when your animal is transitioning, you want to allow your other animals in there. Please don't keep them quarantined. So if you have to take your animal to the vet, or maybe your animal passed away outside, Maitland says, please bring your animal back inside, or please bring your animal home so that the rest of them can see the animal that transitioned. Please lay them out in the middle of the room and leave them there overnight. She goes, it'll be fine, nothing's going to happen. And then when the animals come into the room and no longer acknowledge the body, they walk around it, they don't even look at it, that's when you can pick up your beloved, wrap them up, and if you want to bury them, have a ceremony, or if you want to cremate, then you can take them out. But please give your animals the right to have their moment of goodbyes and to acknowledge that they didn't just disappear, that their body actually transitioned and they're no longer in their body. That will help tremendously with the grief process.
So that question was from Shelley. So many other great questions. This one I know Maitland is going to love. She asked, this is from Thor, and he's asking how much of our pets' medical issues are from their owners. Or human companions, we'll call them that.
That is brilliant, Thor. Thank you. Maitland's like jumping up and down. She puts her hands on her hips and she goes, Thor, I'd say about 90% of animals' issues are directly related to their animal parents, their people parents. She said, the purpose of an animal when we pair up. Oh my God, it's like the Golden Compass. Did you watch that? It was a long time ago, the movie.
Oh yeah, that's why I love that movie.
What was the animal, they were called something.
Everyone, had their own physical animal that spoke, that was with them for the entirety of their lives. So there's no animal loss there. That's lovely.
She says it's like that. When you have your animal in your life like that, you blend on all levels. Emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, like you're together, not in that way, but you're together. It's a closeness that really, she's explaining that people have a hard time doing with each other because people have the concept that they need to be independent and successful and do things on their own or provide something to somebody else. They don't really understand how to show up and be emotionally vulnerable with somebody else to have a close-knit relationship. So she states that the, oh my God, that was the cutest sound.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Emily's walking around the table.
Is she there? Can you show her? I'll switch over. It's going to mute for a little while. You're not going to hear oh wait, you're not going to hear.
She was formerly known as Lucy.
That's the formerly known as Lucy, a full incarnate of your
cat. Yeah.
Right. That is incredible. But when you have intimate relationships, Thor, Maitland says, you will mimic the vibrational patterns around each other. Animals are very good at self-healing. Imagine she says that they just know how to self-heal. They do it every day. They do it when they clean, they groom, they play, they put themselves first. They live in an area of joy and bliss and happiness naturally. And she goes, humans don't naturally live on that level. So they have a lot of, misalignments, Maitland is saying, just illness and disease and things that just interfere. And when your animal's with you, they'll mimic that and they'll take it on. And then since they've mimicked it and kind of taken it from you, you're not going to process it. But you might have the symptoms of it all, but then your animal is the one that's diagnosed with it. And so you help the animal heal, and then in return, you heal from it as well. Maitland says it's always a rule of thumb. Whenever your animal is sick, you better look at yourself and see what you're up to as well. Because most of the time, you're going to be the carrier of it. Ooh, that's a big responsibility.
I've actually,
He's frozen. Can you believe our luck today?
Who's frozen?
You were frozen, Brian. Now
frozen.
You're back. What did you say?
There's a question. I have a story to tell related to this question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
This was when I was younger. My grandfather had a dog named Lady. It was a Chihuahua something mix, and it was a really cold winter night, and my grandmother didn't like dogs in the house, so my grandfather set up a little bed for him in the basement and made sure she was okay, and he came down the next morning and she had died. I think probably from the cold, he wasn't a crying man, but just the way he tried to express his grief, and it's like, why didn't I just put the dog in the house? And so what he did was, in a way, kind of brilliant. He went out and got an identical looking dog and named it Lady, and just carried on. and so here's the question. Where's my question? Someone was asking. I've got a list of questions here. If we recognize This is from Sheldon. Recognize our previous pet as like a new reincarnated animal. Is it okay to give them the same name?
Maitland. She goes, Sheldon, yes, 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 totally fine, completely fine, yes. She goes, they love it. Because they get to carry on as well, just as you'd get to do.
All right. This is a follow-up question from Amy about from the when you talked about helping the animal transition by letting the other animals that have been left behind, helping them grieve by showing them the body of the deceased animal. What if they didn't get that moment? The best way to do it would just be the smell, like you said. Okay.
Yeah, Maitland's saying the best way to do that is smell.
So just find something that the other animal had used and not put it on top of the bed, but keep it around their bed. Is that right?
Yes, she says if you put it on top of the bed, then you're messing with their pheromone structure. Like they need their nest. So that's their protection. But off the side, it's totally fine.
This question is from Carol. How do our animals feel about veterinarians performing euthanasia?
I wasn't laughing at that. Maitland said, Brian, when you were talking, you said, how do animals feel about vets? And Maitland was like, nope, no, don't like veterinarian places, don't like the smell of it, don't like it was all about the smell and how it's laid out and how it doesn't look right and how it's really slippery. They don't like how slippery a veterinarian office is. That's interesting. That's something I don't think about. That's true. Anyways, veterinarians performing euthanism, at that point, Maitland says in their life, they're open and willing, and most of the time they've already known that vet to care for them before. Maitland says it is easier for the animal if you know that you're going to help them transition over as if you do it in your own home, something where it's familiar to your pet, a place where they like to be. Then it's A, less stressful for them, but B, a lot of less stressful for you.
All right, so there's more questions. I just want to say though, Jamie, there's a wind chime on the top of your bookshelf that is occasionally moving on its own and chiming. That's what the chime is. Okay, is there a breeze going on in there? Okay, so I just want to make sure there's no breeze. Is there a reason why that should be chiming?
Maitland and other spirits hit it periodically, day and night.
Okay.
If you're here in the evening, it's going off.
Marie asks, this is an interesting question, and I think I know what the answer is. Can a passing pet do a walk into an already born kitten?
Yes, they can. Mm-hmm.
So it's just, so yes or no.
Maitland was also stating that when you're looking at assisting your animal with euthanasia, did I say that right? I always say it wrong.
Euthanasia?
Yeah, it's a crazy word. That when you put them on the towel, she says, it's nice to have like a bag underneath because the animal will empty their bowels. And not all the time, but most of the time. So it's nice wherever you have them that you can contain that. And then to put them on a towel where it will absorb it. But she says that rose quartz and black tourmaline are so lovely and clear quartz that if you like crystals and you use them on your day-to-day, that those three stones are really lovely in helping your animal companion cross over, find peace, feel loved, and stay grounded as they're in the process. It's really nice. I guess she was going it through in her head. I mean, not everybody has done that yet. And that is a very trying time. And often, if you're not besties with your veterinarian, you're not going to be talking about how to set this up or what to do. So maybe there does need to be a conversation on how does that look. Because you've had to do that too, haven't you, Brian?
Yeah, there in Seattle. There are vets who will come to your home and help your animal cross over. That happened with Mrs. Claus. And that was such a gift. She was always on the bed, and the idea of in her last moments taking her to a bed and stressing her out like that, I just couldn't do it. So yeah, it's.
I know, you can't. It's just heartbreaking.
Oh, this is a great question from Cindy. She's asking, will we be able to, when we're on the other side, when we cross over, will we be able to mutually communicate to our animals? Well, is that like we're talking to each other now? Will we have that free-flowing conversation?
Yeah. Yeah, and you could probably say you'll be having that in English. Even if it'll be an emotional language, it'll be so smooth. Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome. I remember in Eric's book, the second book where he talks about crossing over, or I think it was the interview I asked him, one of our interviews about that. He talked about talking to his dog and being kind of surprised of hearing what he had to say. So yes, definitely, that is definitely the case. This is a great question from Susie. Can we have our own specific pets for all eternity?
So Maitland says, Susie, if you're talking about all eternity, you're still kind of talking like time is linear and that you can only be one thing and in one place and connected to one other like person. She said it's not like that. If you're saying can you be with them whenever, like there's not a rule, like when you get there you can only have visitation hours, she says then that's very true. Because your animal can also incarnate like you are, but animal still has a higher self. So animal can still be available to any other circumstances in all of its lives it's chosen to live, as well as be available to whoever is in the afterlife zone. I guess we can call it that. The afterlife zone. That cracks me up for some reason. So the answer is yes, but maybe the question is a little bit different. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we have one last question. Time for one last question. This is from Amy. And do our pets mind if we cremate them? Is it acceptable for them, or is that weird?
Maitland's nodding her head up and down.
Okay.
She's like, it's completely fine. She said, animals don't have that dense, heavy relationship to their bodies like people do. So people have a more connection to how you look, you know, what you were dressed in, what you did, and we have to see that body as being something sacred and honor it and keep it. Whereas the animal, when they leave, they're like, bye, nice to see you. So if you want to have that ritual with the body, so be it. They don't require anything on that end.
Well, thank you, Maitland, for coming and spending some time with us. So on our next episode,
yes.
With all, I don't know if we should throw on this one more technical issue, but so my cat Mrs. Claus crossed over not last summer, the summer before last, and the night she crossed over, there were clear photos of a cat taken by the webcam that I had in the room monitoring her, and I have not I've shared them with Jamie, but I've shared and friends, but I've not put them out there. And so I'm thinking it makes sense to maybe next time do a little slideshow and talk about kind of my relationship and what that was like. I have to tell you, it changed the way I mourned for her, because when I woke up the next morning and these are motion captured and sent to my email. So I looked at my email and there were a bunch of messages from there, and I looked at them and it's clearly a cat sitting on the bed. And anyway, looking forward to showing them, but they're like nothing I've ever seen before. So I think it will help some people.
It's incredible, Illuminators. It's just flat out incredible. So Brian, maybe send those to me now, and I can do drive run after drive run. And now I get to problem solve why you don't have sound, even though you're hardwired.
Right. Okay. We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. Thank you so much for being here,
Don't
Brian.
forget to like us.
Yes, please.
Or like you.
Like, follow. Also, we are going to start receiving questions. So maybe for next time, you can head over to jamiebutlermedium.com, sign up for the newsletter, and we're going to do a request in the newsletter that if you want questions asked to Maitland next time we channel, we'll have a transcript of questions and we'll just go in order. That would be much easier for us on our end, but we'll see you in, what, 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yes.
I think that's how it works. And happy holidays to everybody, happy new year, and in 2 weeks when we get back, Brian's really gonna showcase his experience of his cat who crossed away and has all those visuals and pictures. You gotta show up for it. It's really unreal. It's fascinating. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us, guys, and enjoying us being real and not professional like tech people, and dealing with spirit and electronics. That's just for another day. Brian, take care, Lumineers. Bye.
Wow, we winged it. It all worked.
I think. Is it over? Is it over?
It appears to be over.
Let's see. It's not over.
It's not over, no.
I don't know how. That's so stupid. I pushed stop. I just logged out of the whole thing.
Maitland doesn't want to go.
It's so frustrating, Brian, but this does not happen when I practice. This crap does not show up.
I know. It's the spirits, I tell you.
They unplugged the computer I was working on, and it was down to 2%. And I was like, Jesus, Mother of Mary. So I started jerking at the cord, which would normally unplug it from the wall, and all of a sudden it got replugged in. So I was like, I just won't say anything, and I'll just keep going.
You're still going.
No!
Don't undress. Don't undress.